Welcome to the Hawkins Observer, a podcast where two lifelong friends recap and analyze every episode of Stranger Things as we prepare for the release of the final season later this month.
Woo. As always, we'll give you a scene by scene recap discussing the plot and developments, as well as sharing our thoughts, memories, and reactions.
In this episode, all the kids spend a lot of time in buildings. Hopper and Joyce spend a lot of time with the wind and bugs in their hair. We see an old friend from a past season, and we lose two characters, while simultaneously gaining a new one.
So, put on your walking shoes and know where the nearest fire extinguisher is, because here comes Season 3, Episode 5, The Flayed.
We are so close to the release of Season 5, and Chris and I are nearing the end of these recaps. We're way more than halfway through. We got
And possibly our friendship. Like, when this is over, I don't know what we'll do.
it's the foundation of our relationship.
Yeah, awkward.
So maybe you can save our friendship with a subscribe and a comment and a like. You have that power.
Exercise it. Like voting. Okay, well, boy, does this episode start real quick. I mean, immediately we're in the elevator that's been triggered and we're just flying downward into the earth. Everyone's screaming. They're trying to push the same buttons. The buttons aren't doing anything. They're just terrified. Then all of a sudden, bam! It lands presumably at the bottom floor. Steve had a box fall on his groin. But now the door is not even opening because they even need a key card to get out. And Erica is not really grabbing the seriousness of the situation. She's like threatening the other kids, like, if I don't get home by such and such a time, this is going to happen. Like, you could still die and you're worried about getting home for someone's party. They realize there's a hatch in the ceiling of the elevator, like all elevators apparently have. They climb out to take a look, but looking up, I mean, it's just forever up. So there's no way they're going to climb back up from this huge shaft. Quick cut to Hopper and Joyce. They're in his car. They're pulling up to yet another property. And this one, they say it looks like somebody's home. They pull up into the driveway, and around back, there's a delivery truck with the word Lynx on it, the Silver Cat. They walk in the door. Joyce whispers, "Did you hear that?" And there's lights that are kind of pulsing on and off. They're like, "Where's that sound coming from?" And Joyce puts her ear to the floor and hears something. And then she sees a light coming from underneath the bed. It turns out it's a Murphy bed. So they raise the Murphy bed, and there's a flight of steps. Quickly, we cut outside, and there's a motorcycle also pulling up to this same farm property. So Hopper and Joyce, of course, go downstairs to investigate, and they hear people speaking Russian in Hawkins. They find two people in this basement, one of which we recognize. It's the one scientist that didn't get killed from the beginning of this season. He's in Hawkins now. And Hopper just pulls the gun, hands in the air, hands in the air. And they're not lost in translation because they don't understand any English. And Hopper and Joyce don't know any Russian. He's trying to get them to put their hands in the air, but they're interrupted by the sound of footprints upstairs. It's the Russian strangler, and he's walking towards them. He comes downstairs with a much bigger gun than Hopper happens to have at the moment. In the Russian strangler, he hears muffled yelling, and he turns the corner and he sees one of the two Russians tied up and gagged. And that's when Hopper appears from the dark and pistol whips the guy on the head. And he drops the weapon, and he tells them, "Wait." He pulls the gun on the guy. And he says, "Drop the weapon." And the Russian goes in English, "Or what? You're going to shoot?" And he's like, "Oh, good, you do understand English. And yeah, I am going to shoot you." And he's like, "No, you won't do that because you are a policeman and policemen have rules." And Hopper goes, "Oh, really? Let's find out." And he counts to three. One, two, three. He pulls the trigger, but the guy ducks in time. That was kind of an obvious thing to do. Now, automatic bullets are flying everywhere from the big Russian's gun. Joyce ducks out of the way. Hopper gets his gun knocked out of his hand. Joyce is like, "Hopper," and tries to throw the gun, overthrows Hopper. The Russian gets the gun. Pew, pew, pew. He starts shooting everybody. But Hopper and Joyce grab the scientist we already know. They run upstairs and run outside as the Russian just keeps firing in his other gun. They hop in. For some reason, Hopper tosses Joyce the keys to his truck, and he takes what he calls Smirnoff, the other scientist, in the back seat, and they speed off. The Russian keeps firing, and it blows out the back window of Hopper's truck. And Hopper just goes, "You still think it was our government?" And the Russian strangler runs out of bullets, but he just stands at the end of the driveway with his gun. Roll intro credits.
So much happens before the opening credits. It's like
Uh-huh.
two or three legitimate full scenes.
True.
Probably the longest before, but yeah. So going back to the kids in the elevator, they're yeah, they're in a bad way because they're totally stuck and I mean, it's going to be a while before they get anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Standing in this elevator, the shaft is hundreds of feet down.
Yeah, it's
Like they have nowhere to go,
it's
no
not
way
as
to,
if there was another floor that they just missed. Like there's just one floor above them. It's
yeah,
seemingly like ground surface level and then deep in the earth.
yeah. So they're stuck. But yeah, this scene with I love that he just names him Smirnoff. Like, uh, if his skin was any other color, it'd be extremely racist. But this guy, this Russian guy, looks like the caricature of a Russian baddie
Yep.
you expect from a video game or a 80s action movie.
Great casting, Stranger Things.
Absolutely. And I think that Joyce is driving the truck because Hopper got kind of messed up in the scuffle and the fight with the Russian.
Sure.
And he just maybe his leg is injured or something. But yeah, Hopper's urgency when he throws Joyce the keys and she can't get it to start, and she Joyce drive.
Yeah. Ooh, that was
Uh,
intense.
yeah, but they handcuffed the Russian scientist, and he's like, "You're coming with me."
Yep. They kidnap somebody. They do a breaking and entering, then they do a kidnapping all in one scene. That's pretty freaking cool. After the credits, a phone rings. It's at the buyer's house. Phones are always ringing there. But Jonathan is in bed. He's sleeping, and he wakes up and he sees that it's 5:48 in the morning, and he's like, not answering it, going back to bed. It stops, and then it starts ringing again, and now he answers it, and it's Nancy. And at first he just wants to write her off, but Nancy's like, "Listen to me. I'm at the hospital with Mrs. Driscoll. Save your lecture. I don't give a shit. I need you to put me on the phone with your brother." And that wakes Jonathan up immediately. Like, what do you mean? He's not here. And then I think Nancy goes, "Where is he? Is he safe?" And then just the look of panic, like, what's going on?
Jonathan's like, "Why wouldn't he be safe, Nancy?"
Yeah.
And Nancy doesn't answer, and he goes, "Why wouldn't he be safe?"
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, they're not. She's not calling him to like discuss anything.
Mm-mm.
She just wants to talk to Will because of what she just witnessed with Mrs. Driscoll.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan's now worried about where Will is.
All right, Jonathan's involved again. He's not a day to sleep in if you're a buyers. We cut to Hopper, who is working on his truck. Assumably, it probably took some bullets from the Russian baddie shooting at him. We see the scientist, but he's been handcuffed to a tree, so he can't get away. And Joyce is just trying to explain the problem about magnets and they're falling and like why. And we find out in this scene that the scientist's name is actually Alexei, because, Joyce is being patient and trying to get answers. And then Hopper and Joyce just start arguing about everything. They're just, even though the world's ending, seemingly, they're just having weird personal conflict. And Hopper's trying to get the car to start. He says to Joyce, "Get in the car and just start it, turn it over." And it's not working. And we hear Alexei do his best English, "Stop, stop." And Hopper's like, "Shut up, man." And all of a sudden, boom, the car explodes. And Alexei was like, "Stop."
I
So
told you.
now they have no car and they set off on foot. And Hopper brings up an acquaintance in Illinois that's probably the best, safest person they can go and talk to about this problem. And they're like, "What? We're gonna walk to Illinois?" And they're like, Hopper's like, "I'm gonna figure it out. Let's just keep walking." Uh, as they're walking, though, it's as if Hopper snaps into the void, but it's because Eleven is spying on him. So she tells the kids that he's in the woods with Will's mom. They're like, "What?" And they might be going to Illinois. 11 doesn't know what that is. And the kids are like, "What does that mean? Why are they walking together in the woods? And why are they going to Illinois?" They go, Max and 11 go to the bathroom, and Max, I love their friendship. It just keeps getting better. She's literally trying to wipe the usual blood off of 11's nose, and then they both kind of like re take a look at the strangle marks that 11 now has on her throat from last night getting strangled from Billy.
Oof.
Uh, Dustin says something's happening. Sorry, Mike starts to get real worried in his Mike fashion, just pacing. And he's like, something's happening. Dustin's missing. Hopper's walking to Illinois. Like, what could be happening? And they come up with a plan. Like, we have to find Billy again. One of them's like, yeah, burn the shit out of him. But then they're like, no, we don't have to just stop Billy. We have to stop the mind flayer. And then the boys are like, wait, why are the girls still in the bathroom? And I think Luke is like, I don't know. Girls just like to hang out in the bathroom. And, Max and 11 they're still having plenty of things to laugh about, even though this is a pretty serious situation. A knock at the door. Before it was Mike's mom, so Mike's annoyed. But this time, the knock at the door, Nancy and Jonathan are there.
Yeah, the boys discussing the mind flayer situation here is really important because we get a little glimpse into like that they're thinking about this practically. Like, we don't just have this isn't like the Will situation where we just got to get it out of him. It's like, no, we've learned and now we have to really go to the source.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, them walking through the woods, uh, yeah, the truck breaks down like in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
And Alexei kind of shows that he's not necessarily a bad guy by trying to kind of protect them. Like, hey,
Yeah.
stop, the car's going to explode on you. And
Right.
he was bad. He would let it happen.
Right.
But uh, they just decided to start walking. And Hopper's like, yeah, yeah, we're going to walk to Illinois. Joyce, he's so snippy with her. It's so funny. But yeah, then Alexei just disappears with like a mist before the void thing. And you're like, what is
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you immediately go to the void and you're like, oh, okay. But they did it in
Oh
a really unique, kind of cool way.
yeah.
But yeah, so Alexi's now with them. They're walking. I think the reason that they wanted to find somebody was because they don't know anybody who speaks Russian. And so they
Yep.
were like, we need to find somebody who speaks Russian. Hopper's like, I have a friend, well, kind of an acquaintance. We suspect we know who he's talking
We
about.
sure do. Actually, I didn't pick up on it at first. I'm letting myself be surprised all over again this season. I don't have a clue what's coming up. Uh, all right, we cut back to the elevator shaft. Dustin is still up on top through the hatch, and he's on his walkie calling out a code red, but not just for his team. He's calling, hoping that anyone in the mall can hear him now because they know how serious the situation is. The mall just opened, so he's calling out. Even though the situation is serious, Dustin still brings up the fact that he thinks Robin is the one for Steve.
Yeah.
And Dustin's like, I heard you guys talking all night. Like, what were they talking about, Dustin? So Steve is, what did I write here? Oh, he's getting a little bit cranky and he's got to take a leak. So he hops up, he's up top of the elevator and he just finds a wall to pee on. And Robin sees this stream coming down and she's like, can you redirect your stream? And Erica, meanwhile, is trying to break open one of the green goo vials because she's thirsty. And then Robin hears something through the wall and she realizes someone's arrived on the other side of the wall. And sure enough, this like wheeled golf cart type thing rolls up. Two dudes are on it. The first thing they say in Russian is like, "You smell that? It smells like piss."
Yeah.
What? So all of the kids hide in the elevator shaft. Uh, they start to take boxes off, and the kids are watching, and they're watching from up above, and Erica still has one of the green vials. And the two guys start to drive off in their cart, and before the elevator door can slam shut, Steve hops down with that high-tech vial, jams it into the door, holds the door long enough for all of them to break through underneath, And as soon as Steve gets underneath, the vial breaks, and whatever was in there essentially starts eating the floor like acid. But then Dustin's already turned around and he sees the longest hallway ever and just says, Holy Mother of God. Sometimes they're real religious on this show.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
should pray more
Yeah.
often, though, not just when they're in trouble.
One of them said, in last episode, last season, one of them says Mother Mary and Joseph.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't start listing off the wise men and the shepherds and the wise men and shepherds and everybody else at the manger. What are we going to do?
The Apostle Paul and Peter and Timothy. Yeah, what's funny, Erica's like, the human body can stand weeks without food, but it can't go that long without water. And Robin goes, "You think this is water?" She's so dumb in that
Yep.
scene.
Yep.
Uh, this hallway is like, it just doesn't end. Like you don't see the end of it. It's like as further than the horizon.
Yeah. It's like
This hall.
it's like it's as long as the elevator shaft is tall. It's just a bizarre
Yeah,
geography we found ourselves in.
but we get a little bit of a inkling into what this green stuff is in these canisters. When it breaks, it
It's
yeah, it's not flubber. We'll say that.
no, and it was never on Nickelodeon. Back at the Wheeler's house, Nancy and Jonathan are now in the basement, with all the kids, of course, except for Dustin. And Nancy says it was the same thing that happened to Will last year, like what she saw with Mrs. Driscoll. And they explained that it was a crazy woman and she was eating fertilizer, and then it was also around 9 p.m. And even while they're discussing what they saw, the kids are noticing some tension, I think, between Nancy and Jonathan in this moment. And then they're like, well, that's it. That proves that she's flayed just like Billy. The mind flayer basically, when it takes over your mind, you become the mind flayer. And so 11 now is like, oh, Heather is also flayed. So she puts that together. And then Nancy, I think, is the one who puts together what? Oh no, Heather is Tom's daughter. So they just start putting all this stuff together as a group because together is better. And then they set off on a mission as a group. I guess seven of them because they hop into the good old 80s station wagon with Nancy driving, and Mike and Will have to sit in the very back on the jump seats. Or maybe it's the ones that face backwards.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're just they're understanding now out loud what we've understood as an audience, that like something else is at play here, and they're, now worried. And Will is a bit he's really useful in this because he understands and he knows what it's like.
Hmm.
Um and again, this is just Nancy continuing to follow her intuition that like there's something more going on with Mrs. Driscoll than that she's a schizophrenic,
Yep.
and um, you know, they're going to go investigate.
Yep. I love Nancy at the wheel. From there, we cut to the Russian Strangler, and he finds the broke down hopper truck in the woods. He bends down and notices some footsteps, and we get the feeling just from footsteps he can figure out which way they're walking. Cut real quick to Joyce and Hopper and Alexi walking through the woods. Joyce is get snippy and she tells Hopper not to walk so close to her because he stinks, while Hopper's just trying to bat mosquitoes away and bugs are biting. And and then they just keep bickering, and at one point Joyce is like, oh, so like every man I talk to from now on is like one of my boyfriends, like Hopper still is like just bringing up some jealous stuff. And then while one moment while Hopper's retorting something, Joyce just goes, whoa, he's running. Lexi is just booking through the woods, and Hopper chases him, and Alexei stops on his own because they come upon the edge of the woods, and there across a street is a 7-Eleven. So they go into this convenience store and they're cracking cans of soda even before they've paid for them. And the clerk takes notice, like, you guys are gonna pay for those, right? So they go up to the counter, pay for their sodas, and they've also got a map of Illinois, some cigarettes, I think some jerky. And the clerk is like, "You some kind of bounty hunter?" And Hopper goes, "No, I'm a cop." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "I'm undercover." And so Joyce is outside, calling Karen, checking on Will. Alexi now has a Slurpee. Hopper goes outside and he sees this really nice convertible, and he tells the guy in kind of a very, I don't know, 80s cowboy, "I need to commandeer your vehicle." Uh, and he flashes his badge briefly and he points to Alexi and says, "This man here, one of the most dangerous men in the world." And you're cutting to Alexi just with a Slurpee now in the back seat, just looking like a kid in Disney. And Joyce walks up, and Hopper immediately gets her in on the fake story and goes, "Ah, Detective Byers. We're the two assigned to escort this guy because he was a child murderer." Joyce goes, "Child murderer?" And to his credit, this guy, the car owner, Todd, kind of believes this whole story. And all he kind of wants to know is, what station do I call to get my car back? Like, he believes they're commandeering it for a real reason. I guess if you've never seen someone in handcuffs and someone flashes a badge, you might be
Yeah.
in for it. But then he's like, "How do I get my car back?"
Hopper says, call the station. And he was like, what
What
station?
station?
I love it too. When Joyce comes out, she joins in right away and tells Todd, the car owner, like, oh, yeah, this guy's a very dangerous forger. And Hopper goes, child murderer. And she goes, child murderer.
Yeah. As soon as he calls her Detective Byers, she gets a little swagger to her and tries to act serious. And she's
She,
such
she
a
makes
tiny little person.
she makes up her own separate backstory, and Hopper's like, no, 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 I already have a backstory.
Oh, it's so
Alexi,
funny.
Alexi just couldn't look more innocent.
No, just
He's
just
got handcuffs on, but he's just sipping this Slurpee. And whoever they cast for this is the exact opposite of the Russian Strangler. I mean,
yeah,
it's like 180 degrees different.
yeah.
But yeah, Joyce is trying to get Hopper to understand, like, Alexi might be able to help us. Like, he knew what was going on with your car and blah, blah, blah. And Hopper goes, oh, you think he's like a Russian Scott Clark?
So funny.
So jealous.
Yes. Oh, Russian Scott Clark. Oh, it's so funny.
They they just peel out in this yellow cream colored convertible that says Todd Father on the license plate. And Todd is just standing in the middle of this empty gas station parking lot now, watching his car peel away.
Uh-huh. Every episode I see when there's a car, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start collecting Stranger Things card. This was like a convertible Cadillac. I would love a Hopper's, two-door Chevy Blazer type, big Bronco style car. Like, there's so
Billy's
many fun
Camaro,
cars. Yes.
Billy's Camaro,
Oh yeah, I've looked. I've been looking.
but
From
not
here,
Steve's BMW from season one.
I don't know. The 80s BMWs, they'd either be like the most expensive thing in the world to maintain, or maybe I know Mercedes from the 80s are still on the road and clocking up hundreds of thousands of miles.
Well, you
Mine,
used to own two of them.
and mine never did, but that's a different story. I didn't have enough green goo to put in the tank.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're back to the long hallway, and the kids are just wondering out loud, like, why is this so long? Did they build this mall just to get this cargo from the surface underneath the ground? Like, they're just kind of like, what in the world? Why is this the way it is? And they're talking about stuff, including the goo. And Robin and Dustin are kind of on the same page about everything, and they've got like they're almost finishing each other's sentences about scientific things that could be going on. Whereas it's like Steve and Erica are kind of like too cool for all these hypotheses. Like, these guys are nerds. What are they talking about? But then they both kind of like get to the point like, but why is this happening in Hawkins? And then that's when Dustin and Steve stop and go, is this somehow related to what we've been dealing with the past couple years? Then they're interrupted because they pick up the code on the walkie-talkie that they've been hearing. So now they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're in like we're in range of the actual broadcast and we're picking it up."
Yep. They're talking a little bit too loud for my comfort in this echo chamber of a hallway.
Yeah,
Every time they're talking, I'm like, shh, because it's so loud.
that's true.
But yeah, they get a little bit of hope that maybe they're close to something while also being a little scared that they're close enough to hear something coming through on the radio.
Yeah. The station wagon pulls up to a house, and we quickly find out it's Tom and Heather's house because there's a knock, no answer, and 11 uses her powers to open the red door. They walk in and just Tom, Heather, and then one of them's like, Jesus, it's freezing. Then one of them goes, Do you smell that? And they walk in the kitchen and there's chemicals everywhere. And one of them is like, are they guzzling this shit? And they're like, well, but last year, like Will didn't eat chemicals. And then one of them is like, no, this is something new. And they again, just out loud hypothesis. They're like, what if they're making something like, but what if you would make something in yourself of yourself? Wouldn't chemicals kill you? And one of them's like, if you're human, it would kill you. But if what they're becoming is no longer human, these chemicals are obviously they're not killing them. They walk farther into the house, and the dining room table is still set from where we last saw Billy over. The bottle of wine is still on the floor, and Nancy spots blood on the floor. And then she's like, Yesterday, Tom had a bandage on his forehead. He was attacked. And then Nancy actually kind of has like investigator Nancy Drew superpower visions of kind of some flashes of what might have happened. So we're kind of going to look into Nancy's investigative mind. We go to the garage door, and I just when they all walked in the garage together, again it hit me. I was like, oh, so nice that they're all on like a team finally. Like, yes, be a team, figure this out together. In the garage, they find rope, and they're like, they must have gotten tied up and taken somewhere. And then Nancy's like, "Oh, Mrs. Driscoll, she kept saying, I have to go back. I have to go back. What if the flaying actually takes place somewhere else? There must be a place where this all started, like a source." And Eleven's like, "Oh, a place that he didn't want me to see." Because when she was in Billy's vision or something, she got scared out of or something like that. And then they're like, "Well, then how would we find this source or this place?" And then Will, I think, was the one that goes, "Mrs. Driscoll, if she wants to go back so badly, why don't we let her?" So Will's like, if we set her loose, maybe she'll just hightail it back to the source, back to where Billy ran off to through the night.
Yeah, this is probably the most um, detailed kind of description or explanation of what's happening this season
Hmm.
up to this point when
Hmm.
all of these kids are at the Tom and Heather and his wife, I forget her name, Janet or something, at their house and see like Ajax and Comet and all these like dish liquids and the fridge has been knocked over and it's all torn apart and Will notice when they notice it's cold, Will says he likes it cold, making
Yep.
that connection. And then yeah, them just putting it together like, well, Will didn't eat chemicals, but like this is Will says, no, this is something new. This isn't like what happened to me. And then Nancy literally just Nancy Drews the, what happened. And Will is so smart to say, uh, Mrs. Driscoll can lead us there. Like, if she wants to go back, we should find her, let her go back and see where it is.
Woo. That'd be an amazing scene to see that old woman just running through the streets like, I need more fertilizer. We from there we cut to back to the woods, and the Russian Strangler is still seemingly hot on the trail of Joyce Hopper and Alexi, and he too comes to the edge of the woods where there's a 7-Eleven, and he sees police are there, so he knows something happened. So he goes inside, tries to play it casual, and asks the cashier like, "What happened?" And the cashier's like, "Some psycho stole that guy's car," and he's like, "Tell me more. Tell me about this psycho." And he's like, and the cashier's like, I already told them everything. I don't know anything else. And the strangler grabs the cashier and is like, tell me about the psycho. From there, we cut to Hopper, Joyce, and Alexi. They roll up in their fine Cadillac to someone's house. They knock, and it turns out to be Murray's house. Before he lets them in, of course, he's like, look up at the camera above you, to the right. Identify yourselves. And we don't know Alexi's last name. So Murray appears at the front door with a double barrel shotgun in Alexi's face. And Alexi, in Russian, says, "Get that gun out of my face, you bald American pig." And this is where we find out that Murray does speak Russian because in perfect Russian, he says, "I may be bald, but you're the one in handcuffs, Soviet scum." Hi, Jim. So they come into the house, and before he lets them too far in, he gets out this device that starts whirring like some sort of scanner, and he's scanning Alexi to search him. And Joyce is like pulls Hopper aside, like this is not going to work. You said he's eccentric, but he's certifiable. And Murray's distracted by them because he's concentrating on something. And he tells Joyce and Hopper, "Hey, move your lovers' quarrel somewhere else." And they bicker again, and Murray's like, "Stop talking." And then Joyce lays it on. She's like, "No, you stop being a jackass because this, and because this, and because this, and because this." Like Joyce just puts her foot down, and some big band music starts playing.
I love this. They, I mean, we see Murray again, which is awesome.
Yep.
The Russian strangler strong arming the cashier to get the information out of him from
Hmm.
about where the Jim and Joyce went. Um, yeah, he really wants Alexi's last name, surname, family name,
Surname.
and Alexi doesn't give it to him because he doesn't understand what he's saying,
Right.
and Joyce and Hopper don't know it, and so Murray opens the door with the double barrel shotgun just right in his face. It's so good, and we know that Murray speaks Russian when he talks back to Alexi, and Joyce is like finally Murray has a rival in terms of the gravity of their personality. Murray's just commanding them all. Like, no, you shut up. You stop talking. I have a job to do. You show up
Yeah.
at my house with an enemy of the state. Blah blah blah. And Joyce just one ups him. Like, you don't understand what we've been through today. We broke down. We walked through the woods in 100-degree heat, and she's just going off.
Yeah.
And when she finally finishes, she tells Murray what he's gonna do. And as she's still standing there, kind of pointing at Murray, Hopper just kind of moves Alexi into the deeper into the house, and Murray
Uh-huh.
just kind of lets him.
Oh, so funny. Okay, so the kids are now near the end of the tunnel and they've actually encountered some people. They're hiding. It's like a hub of activity. Uh, he said they haven't been spotted yet, but they're like, this is the Red Dawn. And as they were ducking, Erica says she saw the comms room, so she's like casing the joint already. And they're like, all right, Erica. So Steve, still leading the way, he's like, all right, we got to move fast. We got to stay low. So they're sneaking, 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 and they see a Russian guy come out of the comms room, and they all sneak in. Yay! Problem is, there's still another Russian in there. It's the transmission guy, and he gets up with a gun, and Robin starts talking Russian to him. Like whatever she's memorized, she just starts saying, like, it's me, the Silver Cat. So he's getting ready to pull up his gun, and Steve attacks the guy and knocks him out finally. And he fixes his hair after he does it. And Dustin's like, dude, you did it. You want to fight. And then Dustin grabs the security badge off the guy. Robin, meanwhile, had gone up a set of stairs and was looking at something. She comes back down and is like, guys, there's something up there. So they all walk up and they see it. It's the big device from the very first episode of this season. It's the big device, and now we see them taking the canisters of green goo and they're putting it into the device. The device is now shooting its beam of electricity towards a wall, and they are trying to open the gate. Whew.
It's such a crazy scene when they see this like control kind of room, or like the center of a spokes of a wheel, like this kind of
Hmm.
thing is, and it looks like they should be caught because it just doesn't look like they're far enough away or small enough to get through.
Yeah,
But they do just snake kind of Scooby-Doo style, like behind, things and get to wherever they're going, and nobody notices that they're there. We'll
no.
we'll just look over the logistics of that. because they do get into like the main heart of the comms room, the control room.
Uh-huh.
Robin's funny because she's very confidently saying just things from the transmission, like tread lightly. I'm Silver Cat, and then she goes China, and the guy's like, none of this makes
Nope.
sense. She probably has a really bad Russian or American accent too with her Russian, but Steve just takes care of business, and Dustin's pride is just like, dude, because he was just making fun of Steve last episode for never winning a fight.
Yep.
And when he says, dude, you want to fight? Steve does kind of look like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But they see the energy beam, and we get the impression that this beam has been firing for a while. Like it
Mm.
doesn't look like at the beginning where it just fires up and it's starting.
Mm.
It's firing, they're refueling it with this
Mhm.
green goo. It's almost like it's on this perpetual cycle.
Yeah.
They're a little bit further along in the process of opening the gate than they were at the very beginning of the season.
I, I wonder if we'll find out why Alexei wasn't supervising this. Like we saw him twice now. Like the very first episode, he was the underling to the other scientist that got offed. But then he gets called in to observe at one point a couple episodes ago, and the other scientist is like, it's beautiful, isn't it? So I wonder if we'll ever find out why he was in this house. I don't remember if we do.
Well, I got the impression that underneath that house is connected to the tunnels
Mm,
and
that's
everything.
true.
Maybe he and somebody else were just, if this really is on a perpetual cycle of firing, he was just doing something else at the moment
Yep,
or
that's
whatever.
a good point. Okay, the last scene of this episode.
A long
Buckle
one.
up. Buckle up. I'll do my best. The kids arrive at the hospital and they're just trying to blow past the front desk. The lady's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And Nancy's like, "Oh, sorry. I'm just gonna visit my grandma again, and I brought my family." And they look at Dustin the Black and they go,
Lucas.
extended. But the front lady, the desk lady, she's like two visitors at a time. Like she's hard on them, like, nope, no more than two people. And then you see the front desk lady, she gets back on the phone with whoever she's talking to. They brought a whole zoo in here.
These
So,
kids don't lost their mind.
so she's, yeah, obviously, I mean, she's doing her job, but she's allowed to be on the phone, having personal calls at work. It's Nancy and Jonathan to go visit Grandma Driscoll. They're on the elevator. It's a little awkward. And Nancy brings it up first. She's like, those things I said yesterday, I didn't mean them. And then Jonathan was like, what? That I was completely and utterly and mortifiably wrong? And Jonathan's like, don't let that go to your head. And Nancy goes, I won't. I just look forward to you never doubting me again. So they're patching. This is great. Meanwhile, downstairs in the waiting room, the kids are trying to get candy, and like Mike or Dustin, or no, excuse me, Mike or Lucas puts a quarter in for the machine, punch it, and it gets stuck. They're like, what the heck? Before they know it, 20 candy bars fly out, and they look over, and Eleven was kind of watching them, and she kind of looks away. So they're like, thanks. And then Lucas is with Mike. He's like, okay, Mike, that was an olive branch. And Mike's like, what? And Lucas is like, you're hopeless. Like, I'm gonna go distract Max. Now's your time to go talk to 11. Cut back to Nancy and Jonathan. They're walking in. They see some papers that are disheveled on the ground. They see there's a red light flashing in a room, and they arrive at Mrs. Driscoll's room, and she's not there. Inside, it looks very disturbed. The flowers have been spilled, the lights are blinking, and there's someone else there with them. Tom, the newspaper man, is there, and he tells them, "Oh, Mrs. Driscoll, she's gone home, and we were hoping you might come back." And Tom is bloodied, and Jonathan's like, whose blood is that? And then Nancy's like, Tom, whatever you've done, it's not you. He's making you do this. And as she's telling him this, Jonathan smashes a flower pot over Tom's head. And Bruce is nearby, the reporter, and he feels it. And he goes, owie. Downstairs, Mike starts to walk up, and he and Will have a nonverbal, and Will gets it, and Will actually gets up and lets Mike sit down to be alone with Elle. He sits down, he's like, "Hey," she's like, "Hi," and he's like, "Does your species like M&Ms?" And she puts out her hand, and they share some M&Ms, and it's super cute. Cut back to what couldn't be more cute is Nancy and Jonathan upstairs, and they're just running through the blinking hallways of a hospital. There's dead people everywhere already, patients, doctors, nurses, just dead people. And they find a phone and they call, but the desk lady doesn't hear them call. So that's one strike on her job report.
Oh,
Uh, Bruce finds them and unlocks the door by punching through it and unlocking it. And he goes, "I'm here for you, Nancy Drew." And he's like supernaturally strong at this point. He throws Jonathan and Nancy around just with unusual strength. Nancy grabs a pair of scissors and stabs him between the shoulders. And she runs and just she's running. Nancy starts running through the hallway. "Help! Is anyone here? Is anyone here?" And he's following her. "Nancy, Nancy." Jonathan, meanwhile, has been very injured in this process and he's barely able to get up. And Tom finds him in this very injured state. And Tom's like, "Where are you going?" Nancy has run into a room, ducks behind a curtain. Tom's, meanwhile, throwing Jonathan around again. Bruce goes into the room where Nancy's hiding. "Yoo-hoo, Nancy Drew, where are you?" And then Tom essentially knocks Jonathan out and grabs scissors, and he's about to stab him when Nancy hits Bruce in the face with a fire extinguisher, and Tom feels it too. That gives Jonathan just enough time to grab those scissors, and he stabs Tom in the throat. He falls down dead. It looks like Bruce is dying too, and the lights start flickering, 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 and then the lights go out. Downstairs, Will's in the waiting room and he feels something's going wrong, and he gets up. Our last scene, we cut back upstairs in two separate rooms. Tom and Bruce are on the floor and they start convorting, and Jonathan and Nancy are watching this separately. And as they're shaking and dying on the floor, their skin starts to dissolve. It turns into ooze. And as it becomes fully gelatinous ooze, their what's left of them slides across the floor out into the same hallway. And Jonathan and Nancy follow these sliding oozes. Now they can see each other. And these two oozes come closer. And Nancy and Jonathan are watching in horror as the two oozes combine flesh. Lights out. Then we see that together they formed one monster. Roll credits.
dude. I mean, we're now at the end of the fifth episode before we finally see like a real non-flashy kind of shadowy image of the full-on full frontal monster that we'll actually be dealing with this season.
Uh-huh. And the
And
fact that after he's flayed somebody, like the rats we saw, things can morph when he needs them to be something other than human.
yeah, and it's a really familiar feeling if which I'm not really a purveyor of this kind of entertainment, but if
Same.
you're familiar with like zombie movies,
Hmm.
that's kind of what that feels like. Tom and Bruce are walking kind of slowly and deliberately like you would expect a zombie to do.
Yeah.
They're not they're not like agile and strong and like running quick. They're kind of lumbering through, but they've got this superhuman strength.
Yep. That's a good way to put it.
Um, and it feels familiar like a zombie kind of thing. Um, but dude, when they when like Jonathan is about to get totally ended by Tom, I think is was his kind of
Yep.
adversary in this one.
Yep.
And he's so weak because he's been tossed around like a rag doll
Yep.
in all these metal lockers, and he got hit like right on the back with a metal stool at one point.
Yes. Yes.
You're like, Jonathan doesn't have any strength left. He's probably got broken bones or whatever. And Tom has the upper hand with these scissors. And as soon as he's about to come down, Bruce opens the curtain that Nancy is actually in that one room and just gets absolutely face bashed in with this fire extinguisher. And Tom in the other room, like his face turns all black and bloody at that same moment that allows Jonathan to escape and retake the scissors and stab him in the throat. But it's like a really intense, legitimate fight scene between these two. I mean, these two men are bigger and stronger than either one of them.
Right, right.
But then you add on top of that the strength of the mind flayer.
Yep.
And yeah, when they're dead, we're kind of like, oh, whew, you know, but then they just kind of start like moving up. Yeah, I mean, it's so.
Teetering into sludge.
And Jonathan and Nancy are just watching it happen, like right in front of them.
Yeah.
And their
Uh-huh.
clothes are still there, but it's like their body just becomes this like red gelatinous goo, like we've seen the rats explode into, but
Uh-huh.
like human amounts of it. And
It just slides
yeah,
out of the slides out of the clothes.
yeah, and these two kind of pulsating goo piles form into one thing when the lights go out.
Mm.
And the thing that it forms is like it has arms and legs and a mouth with teeth and everything
Yeah.
and growls as the credits roll and all the lights come back on when we see the growl.
So I don't think we know this yet, but I'm just wondering, like, when it comes to flayed ex-humans experiencing some sort of shared pain, is it a proximity thing? Like you have to be close to another flayed human? Like for example, wherever Billy is, did he feel a fire extinguisher to the face? Did Mrs. Driscoll like what are the rules of this hive mind now in flayed beings?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
is true
know.
because in the last or the sauna test, we saw Billy at the school or at the pool
Yep.
and Mrs. Driscoll at the hospital, both experiencing that
Sauna heat.
heat. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we don't know where Billy is. I don't think we see him at all in this whole episode.
Oh yeah, we didn't. Maybe
Um,
maybe you mentioned this. Maybe Billy is the special chosen one. So maybe when he gets hurt, everybody else feels that, but
right, but
he
not the other way around.
but not the other way around. Maybe he's protected from when everybody else has a shared hurt.
I
That's
don't know.
my theory. So,
I just love how much information we get in this episode.
yeah.
Like the tunnels, it explains the whole mall piece of it.
Yep.
The connection between the Russians' endeavor to kind of create this gate opening device
Yep.
and Starcourt Mall's role in that. We get a little bit more information about how the why the people are being kind of drawn to their death so that the mind flayer can create
Mm-hmm.
monster. Um, and a lot of the kind of drama of the kids' relationships, like Mike and Eleven, kind of gets a little bit more resolved,
Yep.
um, which is
It
nice. Jonathan and Nancy kind of come back together a little bit.
right. It's almost like it's just in time because they're gonna need to keep being on a team more and more if this threat is ever going to be resolved. It's interesting, that why weren't the Russians, I don't know if we ever find this out either, maybe we do, but why weren't the Russians able to open a gate in Russia in episode 1? I guess it was maybe because the proton gun machine failed, but for whatever reason, maybe they got it to work there and that's when they brought it to America for some reason. Like, why are they now attempting this in Hawkins? Did they not find what they wanted in Russia? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I what I don't know is what they're firing this thing at.
Hmm.
Like it's a wall,
Yeah.
but is it close to the lab? Is it related to something that is lab adjacent?
Yep.
Like obviously we saw Hopper and Joyce in the lab with all the concrete poured in the, old portal room.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we know that from season two, the tunnels lead to way below the lab.
That's
where
true.
the portal wall was way below, and this new tunnel below Starcourt is way below. So
That's
maybe
true.
I actually don't know. I mean, I'm not spoiling anything because I legitimately don't remember.
No, but that's a good comparison I hadn't thought of. The fact that when 11 had to use her powers to close the gate, she had to ride that elevator down, 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 down with Hopper picking off demo dogs at the same time.
Yeah,
So there is something to be, there might be a tie between being far under the ground and how far the gate
yeah.
extends underground. So,
What we still don't know too is where this green stuff is coming from or what it is.
mm,
I mean, it's acidic or has some sort of corrosive capabilities, but it's also generating a lot of electricity.
it's true.
But
Well,
well, listen, I didn't like Tom or Bruce anyway, so hopefully this new creature that they formed between the two of their dead goos is nicer than either one of them were in real life.
yeah, same. This new creature, there's no way he could be as much of a jerk to Nancy as these two were.
I mean, maybe that new monster will actually give Jonathan and Nancy a job.
Well, I have a feeling he wants to hire them for a certain job, but it's
That's
something
true.
much darker than just black and white. So
Yeah.
I've got time. Let's find out now. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the rest of you, we'll report back to you here on the Hawkins Observer.